Hello and welcome to the All About XMen podcast. We've got recaps and mini reviews of all the latest XMen related titles, as well as previews for some upcoming books. I'm host Scorpio Moon, a previously quote-unquote lapsed fan who's now getting back into the comic book medium, and hosting with me I have...
Johnny Alpha, X-Men fan on and off depending on who's writing and how lame they take the series is, but I always at least am reading one X book, so...
Alright, let's just go ahead and get right into it. Now me, I always like to go for the good shit right away, so why don't we start with Uncanny X-Men number 11. Now this shit was great. The basic setup here is Cyclops is doing his mutant revolutionary role. He sees a pro-mutant rally going on, and feels like, hey, this is a good place for a photo op. So he decides to crash the party with his band of X-Men, or almost basically the new Brotherhood in a way I kind of think of them as.
Yeah.
And a Sentinel decides to crash the party as well. They fight the Sentinel, this brand new Sentinel that gets dropped on them, but they don't really win so much as whoever sent the Sentinel eventually just pulls it away after basically making an ass out of Cyclops. Does that about sum it up for you, man?
Yeah, for real. I mean, honestly, like, if anybody stepped up and was badass, it was like the new, mutants that he's picked up, people like Triage, like, they really, like, won the day and did, Magneto did a little bit, man, he, like, impaled the shit out of that thing, but yeah, for the most part, that's what it did, and I'm not sure if this is playing along with Magneto's role, because, like, I don't know if he's a mole or not from the first story arc where he went to S.H.I.E.L.D. and said that I want you guys to make a fool out of Cyclops, because he kind of went and told Cyclops that he did that. But, you know, it's really confusing at this point, but that's what makes this actually the best X title at this moment. So.
Yeah, it really plays into that idea of trying to discredit Cyclops. And I mean, really ever since AVX, the name of the game has pretty much been embarrass Cyclops. I mean, they had him kill his former mentor, They have him wearing this big-ass doofy helmet when he comes shackled into the prison. And now it's like literally every X-book is all about how they're trying to embarrass Cyclops along the way.
Well, what I get out of it, man, is while we were growing up, I read the old books and stuff, and they always had Magneto and Professor X, and like they always called each other brother, but they weren't related. And I think they are really trying to bring this like struggle into the new generation, but actually have the Summers brothers, because Havoc is working with the Avengers. He's the good one. He's the new Professor X, and Cyclops is the new Magneto. And I think that you were dead right when you said the brand new Brotherhood, because that's exactly where I see this going too.
Oh, I like that point. So both Uncanny books are more or less led by a Summers brother.
Exactly, yeah.
Right now. This was a really good read though, man. Especially just, you know, like the visuals look at me. This felt like a horror book, man. Like the green hued kind of coloring, that hazy ethereal effect. I mean, the Sentinel itself looked like kind of ghostly, and there was that crazy ass leg wound with the broken bone, like, in half poking out of the leg.
Oh, yeah. Well, they got that European artist, man. He used to do stuff for heavy metal and shit, so, like, he's more graphic, and, I don't know, it really looks so much different than our average American, looking art that we're used to in an Uncanny X-Men book, that it really does just, like, you're looking at it and you're just like, damn, this is actually a different X-Men book than what I've read my entire life, and I think that really lends on to it being one of the best titles out there right now, too.
Yeah, I'm going to say different in this case is definitely good. I'm going to go thumbs up. I say read it.
Well, hell yeah, dude. The best X title this month, at least.
Alright, let's move right along to A plus X number 11. Now, A plus X is a little bit of a weird book for me. I didn't really give it the benefit of the doubt when it first started. The whole idea sounded way too gimmicky, springing out of AVX. But, you know, it's actually funny how this does play into the main things. Alright, now first of all, though, Thor's font is fucking killing me. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, just the font when Thor speaks just hurts my eyes to read that. Like, sometimes I just want to skip over it. Like, it's just making me fucking hate Thor.
Yeah. But I mean, to tell you the truth, out of this issue, I liked the Thor and the Magic sequence better than the Superior Spider-Man and Cyclops one. I mean, it seemed more fun. It seemed less trying to prove some kind of point in 7 pages or less, which makes me sad because Jim Krueger wrote the Spider-Man and Cyclops one, and I mean, he's one of my favorite writers of all time, but, I guess he really couldn't spin that tale in as few pages as he had that he wanted.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand, like, the double feature fact. I mean, isn't just one combination enough? Anyway, so basically that brings them together is Thor ends up in limbo, and by the way, it's just weird, Thor looked ugly as shit in this book. Like, something about the art, like, he looked more like Beta Ray Bill than Thor in some panels.
Yeah, it really did look like they just rushed it out, man. They didn't even ink it well or anything. They're just like, yeah, man, people don't really read this too much, so go ahead and just, fucking half-ass it. That's what it kind of looked like.
And it kind of felt like a Smallville episode, like, Thor's just goofing around with this random artifact, and boom, ends up in limbo kind of stupidly. Or unless, I don't think they implied it, but maybe he would want to be there on purpose because he wants to bring in magic, and he knows that's her realm.
Yeah. Dude, Atex has been a hit and miss since it started. Some issues have been really funny, some haven't. And this one, since they made they had 2 team-ups in it, it really just, they just kind of did 2 crappy little stories in it, and I kind of really didn't like this is probably my least favorite pick of this month, so...
Alright, so anyway, so they tussle with some demons and each other, and then magic drops them off in the middle of nowhere, kind of playing into that a little more lighthearted, like, kind of funny vibe. I'd say easy victory goes to magic on this one. Then we get the Cyclops and Superior Spider-Man team-up, or competition, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, they just beat each other's ass through most of it, so...
some would argue that they're both villains in heroes' bodies at this point, beating each other's asses. Because it's Superior Spider-Man, so you got Doc Ock Spidey, and then you've got Cyclops, who's taken this, transition from, the Boy Scout, a student of Charles to now, like, almost the next Magneto in a way. So they're both, like, completely different people from when we first knew them. I liked how this book plays into that plot of kind of embarrassing Cyclops. Because, like, Malice is, like, inhabiting little old ladies and making Cyclops, like, chase her down. So it kind of looks like Cyclops is, like, up to no good again. Like, I think that kind of plays into the main plot more than I gave it credit for right away. And I love this quote. I love this quote from Doc Ock Spidey, too, though, when he says, "Deception is as much a part of being a hero as truth. If it weren't, we wouldn't wear masks."
That was pretty cool, too. I don't know, it seemed like a really rushed little tale for me. I wish that they would have did a whole issue on it, It would have probably been better, in my opinion.
Yeah, either one of those... Well, the Magic Thor one seemed... That's about all they really wanted to do with it. But yeah, I think there was probably more to glean from Superior Spider-Man and Cyclops. But it does look like there's going to be more consequences coming out of it. How will Cyclops use being seen as a villain, as Spider-Man suggests? And, as they obviously showed, how will Superior Spider-Man end up turning malice into a weapon?
Yeah.
Cyclops even says at the end, wow, good thing Spider-Man is such a good guy, because a bad guy would have downloaded malice and then turned malice into a weapon later. Hint, hint.
Yeah, just giving that shit away, like, it will return.
So what do you think, man? Thumbs up, thumbs down, buy it, skip it.
I got like a middle thumb. Dude, get the trade paperback. That's how I collect A plus X anyways. It's fun, but it's not worth getting issue to issue in my opinion. Wait for the trade.
Yeah, I'm not sold on the series yet, even at this point, but for this book, I'm gonna go buy it. Let's move on to Astonishing XMen number 66. So Iceman has brought on Snowmageddon because the stress just got to him. Iceman went a little crazy for a bit. They kind of set this up as, I guess, this is kind of like the sentimental X-Men issue. They're out there playing karaoke. You've got Wolverine, Gambit, Celia Reyes, Jubilee, Storm, Warbird. Who am I missing? I think Kitty might have been in it.
Yeah, I think Kitty Pryde was. Yeah, it's basically the faculty of the Jean Grey school.
Yeah, so after they feel like they've ignored Iceman, who is, off now, but they feel like they ignored him and they've got to do more family stuff, so they're having kind of one of those sentimental issues, though. As an X-Men fan, though, I always love these, like, they just feel like my fictional family sometimes. Like, I'll read any, like, if it's the X-Men playing baseball or the X-Men having, like Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, like, I'm always down for one of those issues. They've got quite the choice in in karaoke music, though. I mean, you've got to be up on your chick music for this one. Like, I looked up the lyrics for the songs they're singing. You've got Sarah McLachlan's Building a Mystery, Melissa Etheridge, Come to My Window, Whitney Houston, Queen of the Night, and Fire by the Pointer Sisters as their karaoke lineup.
So almost all of it is old 90s Lilith Fair stuff, except for the Whitney Houston.
Yeah, Lilith Fair, exactly, yeah, good one. That's pretty much kind of the lineup they set there. Probably none of that would have been my choices in songs.
No. I only recognized the Sarah McLachlan thing because, like, the vampires roam or whatever the line was.
Right, and because Jubilee's a vampire now, it's meant to be very, very literal, I guess.
Yeah, or sadly ironic type of thing. But I agree with you. That it kind of that's the best thing about the X-Men, because no matter what's happening with them, the good writers always know to humanize them and bring them back and, you know, have them go and eat pizza or have them go play baseball, like you said. Claremont always did that, had them playing sports in between fights and stuff. And I really like that the writers are getting back to that kind of feel with these X-Men books. And yeah, I really enjoyed this, because since Whedon stopped writing it, Astonishing's been an on and off book for me, but I'm really looking into getting back into it after the last arc and then this issue. It's really building on me, so I thumbs up for this.
Yeah, this issue was a nice one of those ease the tension kind of books. After you've had build up. It's like, all right, chill out for a second before you bring on the next storyline. And of course, you know, the X-Men can never just have a fun day off. You've got alien babies turning people into zombies. It feels like a Doctor Who episode all of a sudden worked its way into this issue.
For real. But I mean, like, it was a nice change of pace, because, like, you like me, we read all these books this month, and it's probably the only X-Men book this month where something major isn't happening in it. So it's kind of a nice little break from that even, too.
Yeah, so even just for your monthly pull, it's like a nice little tension breaker for that. I'm going to go thumbs up, too. I'm going to say rate it. Astonishing X-Men 66 is one that should probably make your list. Why don't we dive next into Wolverine and the X-Men number 35, the end of the Hellfire saga. Now, man, this is a book that can really run the gamut. I mean, from the very beginning, you've got the Snot Mutant, but at the same time, Toad is practically raping Paige, you know, to save her, though. I mean, this is some really weird stuff.
Well, dude, Jason Aaron's an ex-Vertigo guy, so he's been trying to work that more kind of comical but ironic yet adult-themed, even though keeping it fun, into this book since the get-go. And I think that with this, he's really, like, finally getting into the groove of actually being able to do that. So I had a lot of fun with this one myself.
Well, the fight between the Jean Grey School and this kiddie version of the Hellfire Club, it goes down about how I think you'd expect. And there's a lot of this, I don't know, it almost feels like a nostalgia for Silver Age silliness that he's working into it. But yeah, I mean, it goes down about how you would expect. You know, the good guys win, the bad guys, some of them are shipped away, some of them are assimilated. Baru finally gets his sanity back, and then they tease the return of Nightcrawler.
Yeah, exactly. They have the whole thing with the BAMFs at the end, and you're just like, come on, man. You just go ahead and get it out of the way. We know it's coming. Then no X-Men stays dead for that long, so yeah, Nightcrawler's coming back. We know it. Right?
Yeah, it's been long enough already. I mean, I like how you can quip, you know, he must be a Skrull, talking about Wolverine at the end, when someone's acting out of character.
Oh yeah, because they figured, he's going to be drunk as shit or something, you know, or he won't come in. He's probably out in Japan fighting some ninjas, and he's just like, he's all dressed all nice, all Ward Cleaver, like waiting for them. You're just kind of like, damn, you're tripping.
Yeah, so I don't know. I found this book to be enjoyable, but more or less forgettable. I'm not going to say it's bad. I don't want to say thumbs down, but I'd say you could probably skip it if you wanted to.
Yeah, well, Wolverine and the X-Men, it's one of my least favorite titles, has been from the get-go. Because like you said, it's kind of really silly. They play to like almost Nickelodeon-type, Ren and Stimpy-type snot jokes and stuff too much in it. And it's fun for what it is, but, you know, with what's going on with Uncanny X-Men, you know, this can step aside. I want to see what the fuck Scott's doing, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it's amazing how that's the more interesting thing to me. I mean, Wolverine's my favorite character. I'm an unrepentant Wolverine fanboy. Grew up hating Cyclops. But right now, Cyclops' book is far more interesting to me than Wolverine's X-Men book.
Well, I got a similar dilemma, but in a different level. See, 7 years ago, Jason Aaron blew up on Vertigo. He did this really awesome graphic novel called The Other Side about the Vietnam War, and then he did one of the most hardest-hitting noir crime dramas called Scalp that ran for 60 issues. Just a great series, very adult, very serious. And I'm sitting here reading him do snot jokes, and Brian Michael Bendis, who is kind of a joke of mine for years and years, is actually doing like the strong, serious X-Men book. It's kind of just, it's on its ear in my opinion. It's really weird for me, but
that sounds like quite the fucking juxtaposition. Juxtaposition, yeah, that's probably the word. But yeah, shit's crazy. I hate to transition into another kind of boring one, but did you read Wolverine Max number 10?
Oh god, yeah. Sadly I did.
Yeah, it's Wolverine Max. So there's actual cursing instead of little stars and garters, or little stars and symbols or whatever. And
that's all it has to it too. Yeah, dude, it has cussing and no actual story. They're just regurgitating shit we've already seen in Wolverine, but it actually says fuck now instead of, like you said, an F with some symbols behind it. And I don't know. You could take the F words and give me a story. I really am not a fan of this title personally. So
yeah, the trade-off doesn't work for me either. I mean, it's a very quick issue. Wolverine is basically trying to get some info about his past from this old FBI guy who had gone rogue. Now he's this dirty, nasty little fuck. Anyway, Wolverine has to kill when the guy starts shooting, so that's kind of the end of it. I guess Wolverine...
he cuts his head off and leaves him in the desert, and you're just kind of like, wow, I had to read this whole issue to get to that. That's awesome. Not.
Yeah, that was... What the fuck? And so much for the information, whatever. He started shooting him, so I guess you gotta kill him, and it's all over. And I guess he was inspired by the conversation to now pursue another angle, because there was some shit they had about fate going on. I don't know, even for like a what-if kind of tale, I mean, it's kind of cool to see in this issue specifically, some of the lives, some of the lives he's ruined along the way, but they're not doing anything with this Wolverine Max. They're not really taking advantage of the Max, imprint in any special way.
No, I mean, especially because, like, when it first came out, I was excited because I was a huge fan of, like, the Punisher Max series by Garth Ennis. Man, that was probably one of the hardest-hitting books ever. And then the Deadpool Max by David Lapham. And that series was insane. It was hilarious, but, I mean, it was just insane. And then this, man, it's poorly drawn, it's poorly written, and it's just Wolverine shit I've seen already with F-words in it. It's just like, I really could give a rat's ass about this title, period.
Yeah, what if Wolverine's story was slightly different?
Yeah, you didn't have claws in the 70s. It's like, oh, I didn't have claws in the 70s? Yeah, they got in the way of your disco dancing or some shit.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go thumbs down for Wolverine Max number 10. You can skip it.
Yeah, I agreed 100%.
What was a little more fun to me, though, was Gambit number 16. Well, a little more fun, but so Gambit's invited to lead the Thieves Guild. And I'm thinking, like, hasn't this been done before? Well, I guess it's technically now they want him to lead the Guild of Guilds. They want him to lead all the thieves or something, so I guess that's ramping it up a little bit. And then while he's supposed to be proving his mettle one last time, he's double-crossed by a younger thief who wants to be the leader instead of him, which is kind of what his adoptive dad had told him to watch out for anyway.
Yeah, and didn't the end of this issue leave you feeling that Gambit was going to get raped, especially with that dude reaching down his pants in the last panel? I'm just like, no, dude, I like Gambit.
Yeah, I like Gambit too, but that's a very unfortunate prison scene going on right there.
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh wow, this is going all HBO Oz on itself right now. Just like,
ew, yeah, no.
But, Gambit's going to come out on top, and like I said, this is a pretty cool series. I'm going to keep collecting it, personally.
Yeah, I found it to be a little predictable, but I mean, I really did enjoy reading it.
This new series has been pretty good, always been a pretty big Gambit fan, but he really came really cool to me after Messiah Complex when he helped Charles Xavier get his mind back. That was like an awesome story arc that Mike Carey did, and like he kind of reinvented Gambit for me there because I was a little, pissed at him for going all with Sinister again, becoming a Marauder. I was like, what the hell are you doing, dude? But it all came out good, in the wash.
Yeah, it's nice to give Gambit like an important X-Men moment like that. It's nice for him to kind of like, prove his way into the family, and
Right.
I kind of like how we have normal Gambit going on here. Because, Gambit's been through some shit with his powers and with everything else, like, over the past decade or so, but it's nice to see that, like, they've just got him with his same power set and his same kind of, thieving and his accent and all that. I mean, I know it's good for characters to grow and change, like we've seen with Cyclops and Wolverine, but sometimes you just appreciate a character for who they are, and I like how they're doing that with Gambit here.
Yeah, I mean, like, I appreciate as much as the next guy, like, the evolution mutations, like Beast and Emma Frost have and stuff like that with the secondaries and stuff, but I don't want to see everybody get those, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm with you. Like, keep Gambit the way he is, because, I mean, I don't know, I grew up watching the cartoon and stuff, and he was always my favorite on that, and I still got all my Gambit action figures from when I was little and stuff. He's still my favorite X-Men, so I'm with you. Don't screw him up. Don't make him like he was in that movie again, Don't X-Men Origins him ever again, please, Marvel.
Yeah, no, please. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, and remember what made them cool in the first place. They had a nice little music reference for you here at the end of this one. Kill Your Idols.
Yeah, they went all fucking punk rock with it. That was pretty badass.
Kill Your Idols being a band name, right? That took their name from a song?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Well, it's been a theme that's been thrown around since out of the hardcore days. Bad Religion, Black Flag, all them guys kind of had that slogan written on their T-shirts and shit like that they'd make themselves. It was just kind of an attitude mentality that they had, and yeah, some of the younger bands picked it up and like actually named themselves that and stuff. So, but yeah, it's more just to do with the actual mentality of punk rock, fuck it. The person you look up to today is going to be the person that you think's a sellout and fucking ruined your life the next, so just don't even look up to nobody type of thing.
Maybe that one should have been a Cyclops quote.
For real.
How that went down. and they're all nice little references, like, to other events all throughout these books here. Like the reference to Archangel laying waste to a whole town.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Let's wrap up with Uncanny Avengers, a book filled with mini confrontations. You've got Thor and Sentry, Wolverine and the recently brought back Daken, Rogue and Sunfire, Grim Reaper and Wonder Man, and of course the Apocalypse Twins and the Scarlet Witch.
Yes.
I thought that was a bit of a fillerish issue, to tell the truth.
It was laying in a little bit of story before the final fight issues that are going to probably be the next two. It was just kind of like really filling you in on like why Thor and Sentry are trying to beat each other to pulp, what happened to Daken, what happened during AVX for the unreaders, just a filler issue, but it was also trying to inform the uninformed, basically.
Uncanny Avengers, which is one of my more favorite books, but yeah, I could say you could probably skip this.
I think you should get it because, like I said, it's good. It's key to this whole Apocalypse Twins story arc that they got going with the red onslaught that's coming. It's really interesting. It's been building up since issue 6 of Uncanny Avengers. So this is kind of like the little small simmer before it boils over in the next issue, and it's going to be hardcore. So I think that this issue is a little more important than Scorpio does, so I say get it. Thumbs up on it.
But Uncanny Avengers, basically it all leads up to Wanda saying yes, she is willing to use her powers to rapture all mutants to their own paradise where they can live as gods. And I have to admit, that is kind of a tempting little idea there.
Yeah, but how can you trust Apocalypse ever? Even if they are Archangel's kids raised by Kang the Conqueror, and they were appealing to her better half by saying that, oh, we're like you and your brother. We were raised by a monster, but we want to be good. I think that Scarlet Witch knows what's up, and I think she's playing them, you know? So I really think that this issue set up the final conflict that we're going to get really well. So it's got me jazzed. I love Uncanny Avengers, so.
Yeah, it really does kind of sound like they're working her, and yeah, who knows if she's just playing them or if she's going for it. But I'm definitely looking forward to the next Uncanny Avengers. And speaking of things that we're looking forward to, that covers all the books for the past week, but coming up we've got the Battle of the Atom event running across the X-Men titles. Battle of the Atom number 1 of 2, is going to be coming out next week, along with all new X-Men number 16 will be another Battle of the Atom tie-in book for the event. I'm really looking forward to this one because I feel like all new X-Men has been moving way too freaking slowly, and I'm hoping that this is the payoff to that title.
Well, all new X-Men, in my opinion, all it does is lay the groundwork for Uncanny. So, like, all Bendis is doing with all new is he's, like, got this idea with the old X-Men there, and all he's really doing is hashing out and showing you this is what I'm going to do next on Uncanny so far. So I really hope that it starts becoming its own book instead of just the Uncanny setup.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that one. Yeah, I mean, at first I was kind of thinking, like, yeah, they just tie in a lot because there's continuity and same writers and all that. But yeah, it almost does kind of feel like the setup. The first half of the series gripped me a little bit more than some of these later issues. Some of the later issues feel a little more like they're just kind of like treading water. But, you know, I really was not sold on the idea at first, you know, of bringing the old X-Men, like, into the present. It just felt like, I don't know, it just felt a little too weird to me. It was a little too much.
I really thought it sounded ridiculous, and I had a problem with some of Bendis' earlier Marvel titles, so I waited till about the first 4 issues, and I felt like you did when I was reading the first one and the second one, but by the third one, I was just like, dude, this is getting good, and then then it launched into Uncanny, and then I saw what he was doing with this, and how Uncanny and it were, you know, hand in hand in this thing, and I like All New X-Men. Uncanny is a better title, but I hope that after this Battle of the Atom, it'll really shape up and become its own thing. And I am really excited for this Battle of the Atom, just because of how well these books are going right now and how awesome X-Men's been since the Marvel Now relaunch. It's just, and this is going to be the first event book, so. The only thing that's got me a little worried is that Wolverine and the X-Men ties into it too. But I was skeptical about new X-Men tying into the Messiah Complex, and I really ate my words on that one. I mean, like, dude, there was no bad part of Messiah Complex, so I'm really hoping this Battle of the Atom will, you know, be in that same kind of league of X-Men crossover stories.
Yeah, this is probably the first event that I've looked forward to at all in a really long time. I mean, a big part of it for me is seeing the consequences. Because, you know, they keep saying that, you know, taking someone out of their time and bringing them to a new time, like, that should be a big deal. But, you know, so far we just haven't seen any of that. And now they're going to finally get into it. And they're really going to, like, be pushing, like, their limits on the weirdness, too. Because now you've got X-Men from the future coming back to our present to interact with. So you got past X-Men, present X-Men, future X-Men. You know, there's a lot of freaking X-Men all running around here.
For real. But, I mean, that's Marvel's milieu. I mean, right now they got Infinity going on, which is probably one of the best Avengers crossovers I've read, and that shit's so weird, you know? It's just, I think that's what they're going for. They've done the same old so many times and stuff. I really think that they want this Marvel Now to be, you know, something that people haven't seen before, and if that means it's going to be a little weirder, a little more esoteric, and a little more surreal than we're used to, bring it on, man. I want to see it, because I don't want to read fucking Days of the Future Past again, you know? That was a great book back then. I don't want it regurgitated, so give me something new, give me something weird, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I hope what you're saying is it. I really want to keep the show more about comics and less about movies. But, you know, I can't help but notice that you've got the Days of the Future Past movie coming up where they're smashing together 1 billion teams worth of X-Men. And now they're kind of doing the same thing in the comics where they're trying to hype that movie for its release in a year. I mean, I hope it's not just about that.
Oh, no. Well, because they would be trying to formulate it around more. They'd be bringing Bishop and all the characters from the movie into it, and like this thing, it's like so different. It's like old X-Men, and like you said, like the movie continuity is so screwed. I don't even know if Cyclops is going to be in it, period. You know what I mean? I haven't heard anything about James Marsden rejoining the cast and stuff, so I wouldn't worry about the film being anything like this movie, and I don't think that they're really hyping it up. I think that they're just like trying to show people that, because Marvel now, they wanted to get away from doing the universe-wide events. They want to get back to where events tied to the books that are adjacent to them, you know. X-Men books affect X-Men, Avengers books affect Avengers, and, you know, maybe every now and then, you know, because they kind of coexist with the Uncanny Avengers, there might be a tie-in between the two of them at some point, but, you know, they're not going to jump right into that right away. You know, they want to get back to the old style where, you know, like, these events would affect like 2, 3, or 4 books, and then they have a core book, and, you know, you just get those. And I appreciate it. I like that. So I hated, you know, I mean, they were cool at first, but Marvel just drained that shit to the bone with Civil War, Secret Invasion, fucking Dark Reign, you know, they just Siege, they just killed it, you know, they got me so uninterested that I didn't even want to events, period, but the way these are really shaping out, I mean, I'm actually looking forward to them, which I didn't think I would for a long time, so.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I'm hopefully seeing this as kind of like a renaissance of the event and a renaissance for the comics. What I'm hoping, if anything, that this idea plays into more is just they really want to do like the alternate versions of characters lately. Like they just want so many versions of every character running around this universe. They're doing it with so many people.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because like each book, like they might have the same character from another book in it, but they're almost not the same guy. It's almost like how books were when we were kids, where, you know, like the Captain America, his own comic book, didn't really act like the Captain America in the Avengers, you know, and like the Captain America from his own book didn't tie in with the Avengers, you know, and I'm a little happy that they're getting back to that style personally, because I hated that everything had to tie into everything, and like how Marvel pre-Marvel Now was, so I'm all for what they're doing right now, and I like that they're getting back to doing standalone issues with some series. Like the Avengers book is all standalone. Uncanny X-Men has been pretty standalone issues so far, since each issue tells its own story. I really like that. I like that they're getting back to that, where you don't have to have 6 story arcs. You got to collect all year to fucking get one story. You know, it was really, I mean, it was kind of cool, you know, back when graphic novels were a new hip thing, but, you know, they drained that idea dry too. So I'm happy that they're getting back to single issues and having, you know, not everything tie together, you know, way better ideal for me.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of condensing it a little bit more, but I guess what I was kind of trying to get at was, like, I mean, look at, like, Spider-Man. Like, they're trying to have, like, Superior Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2099, and Spider-Man Ultimates, like, all running around in the same universe at the same time. You've got, like, Blob, and then clones of the Blob. You've got, like, 18,000 versions of Krakoa, the Living Island. Like, they just want to, like, have their cake and eat it too with these characters, where you can have the character and have all the alternate ideas for the character all kind of running around in the same place. So yeah, anyway, we've got Battle of the Atom coming to a head. We're both looking forward to that. I think we both agree that everyone should be looking forward to Battle of the Atom to see how that one plays out. X Factor 262 is also going to be coming out next week, or maybe this week, depending on when you hear this podcast. And apparently that book is coming to an end.
Yeah, it's the final issue. It's heartbreaking to me, man. I mean, it's the X book that got me back into reading X-Men. I mean, it was really low at the point when I started reading X Factor. And Peter David, dude, he's written every issue, and it's all, the past couple story arcs could have been a little better, and I feel that he's really brought his story to an end, but I really don't get why the entire title's ending. I don't know why they don't just reformat it, put another team together, and launch it as another Marvel Now title. Like, I'm really sad that the actual X Factor title is going away for good, and I don't know, and in it really reissued some of these characters that I actually never gave a rat's ass about, like in the 90s, like Shatterstar and Longshot and Wolfsbane. You know, I always thought they were pretty lame, but the way that he wrote them with such emotion and such diversity, and you know, I mean, he made Shatterstar as gay as you can make a character, and I don't know, I never thought he could be any cooler than like that gay Shatterstar. So I'm gonna miss it, man. I love X Factor. You know, Peter David, you gave me one of the greatest books for, I don't know, about 6-7 years in a row. So I'm glad that you did what you did, dude. But I'm gonna miss your book. End of story.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying that his health issues don't come into play with it at all, and it's more just about most of the storylines from that book are wrapping up, and they decided that that's a good place to end it. But I really don't see, like, the reason to end things. I mean, you're not going to stop telling stories with these characters. You're not going to stop using that title in a name. So aside from wanting to relaunch another new number one, I mean, why can't they just keep these things going?
Well, that's the point of the Marvel Now, is they really wanted to, with the Marvel Now relaunches, it's supposed to be an initiative with these old guys stepping down or even switching titles, like Bendis. He gave up the Avengers, he gave it to Hickman, and he went and did X-Men. And Matt Fraction, he gave up all the stuff he was writing, and now he's doing Fantastic Four. And then all these young guys like Hickman and Brian Wood, and they're all getting these chances to write these big X-Men books. And if they do a Marvel Now relaunch, it'll be something like that. They'll give somebody like Anthony Johnston, who is a new young talent that's come to Marvel, but he doesn't have too many titles under his belt yet. They'll probably give it to him, or maybe to Gail Simone. They've been bringing her into Marvel recently, I've been reading, so maybe they'll give Gail Simone X Factor. I'd read that. I love Gail Simone's writing, so.
Yeah, that could certainly be interesting, but yeah, end of an era coming up.
One hell of one, too, because Peter David also... he redefined X Factor 2 times, you know what I mean? He made it what it was in the 90s, and then he came back and brought it back to life in the 2000s, so guy was incredible. It's a great title, both runs of it. If you haven't read it, man, I highly, highly suggest it.
And then the last thing we have to look forward to for the next week is going to be XMen Legacy number 16.
Yeah, I don't know. It's quite a bit different than any X title you'll read. It's really, really like an old Vertigo book from the 90s. Think about, like, Sandman by Neil Gaiman, and think about, like, that kind of writing, but as an X title, but following Legion and Blindfold. And they have all these kind of crazy adventures and all the stuff that's going on. So, yeah, the next issue from this story arc, it just gets weird, but, like, it's very entertaining. If you like adult-themed, esoteric style Vertigo books, I think that you'll really like X-Men Legacy. But if you want to read Wolverine cutting ninjas up and, you know, snot monsters, then yeah, you're not gonna like X-Men Legacy.
Yeah, I think Legion just never really gripped me as a character.
Me neither, until I got to this book. I mean, it's just so different, and it really takes you. It takes you into his mind, which is 1,000 different people, you know, and especially I like that the weird other smaller X-Men that team up with them, like Blindfold and so on. It's just, I really like the smaller characters of the X universe that you don't get to see very often, and that's what I like most about some of these new books, is that you're getting to see them up front and center more than you see Wolverine and, you know, the old giants that were always, you know, in the front and in every panel. Now you get to see people like Jubilee and Rogue and Storm running teams and stuff like that. You got Gambit having his own series. It's very interesting, and that's why I like X-Men Legacy, because it's just, you know, they launched a series. It's almost 20 issues into it, and it's about characters that nobody's ever really read about before, except for in a couple crossovers. So
yeah, so I mean, that's a champion move, and I think just for the sake of being, you know, an X-related character, it's worth giving a shot. I think when X-Men Legacy 16 comes out, I'm going to want to read it. I mean, at least for the sake of talking about it here. So that pretty much sums up our previews. Now, where do we want to end the cast on? Do we have maybe a sexiest moment for the past week?
Let's see.
Let me throw a couple contenders. You've got Magic was shown to have quite the fat ass. She was bending out over their little version of the Danger Room table there. Or you've got Quentin Quire's girlfriend in Wolverine and the X-Men number 35. They shared quite the little sexy kiss near the end of that book.
Quentin and Heidi finally going at it. That was pretty nice.
That little chick in the skirt from A+X number 11 wasn't too bad either. The one girl that Malice had taken over.
Oh, yeah, she's pretty nice.
I mean, as long as we're playing with the male gaze here, I think that would probably be my vote.
And for me, I'd probably have to go with when Tempest fucking came in, froze time, and saved the day in Uncanny X-Men. That was pretty hot. You know, I always want to be saved by, you know, a cute little chick with an accent. Australian will do. So yeah, I'm gonna go with when Tempest saved the day in Uncanny X-Men. I think it's page page 6.
Alright, not too shabby, not too shabby. As an honorable mention, you might go, who was that one new thief in Gambit 16? The one who was jokingly referred to as Boy?
You know, I don't know. They didn't even say its name. They only said the Technomancer and the one chick. They never said what the third one's name was in it. So I was actually thinking that myself. And these are all new characters. They haven't showed up on the in the series yet, before. So I'm thinking that it's going to be playing a bigger role because remember it turned into Gambit at the end of that conversation they were having.
So what exactly was up with that?
I think we're going to find out if we keep reading this story arc.
Alright, so there's one more reason to take a look at Gambit 16, and hopefully after listening, you've gotten one more reason to take a look at almost all the books we've mentioned. I think that makes a fine little final thought. Please make sure to tune in next time when we review all the books that will have come out from the past week, as well as give a preview for all the books coming out the next. This is Scorpio Moon and Johnny Alpha signing out.
Pow pow.